Hi, welcome to the Coaching Game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight my guest is Lena Beck. Close.
Very close, yes.
I tried.
No, it was good.
Lena is no stranger to the Coaching Game. I've had you on before, which is so exciting. And she just happens to be in the United States this week. She's now on a global basis, which is so exciting. And doing, she's the CEO of Beck Global Consulting. And very timely subject. So tell us a little bit about Beck Global Consulting, how it got started, and what's the main, the whole idea.
I started Beck Global Consulting 10 years ago, and leadership development, team development, executive coaching. And then in 2014, I developed the concept Show Your Worth, which is a concept and a program for women to empower women, to make sure we get more women in leadership positions, and we teach women to negotiate salary, to take the word at their table, to promote themselves, and to make the right alliances and network. And of course, we also teach them what happens when you go from one leadership level to the next, because the dynamics change significantly.
Tell me, you know what, I've always remembered, you gave me an amazing statistic about women who make it to top management and how many of them make it at last.
Yes.
Has that statistic changed at all?
It goes very, very slowly. It's definitely not going as far as one could hope. We see some progress, but it's a little bit, it's like 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So it goes slowly. There's no doubt we still need to work with very consciously to have more women in leadership positions. It will not happen on its own.
No, oh no, I think we've become aware of that. But I remember, I think you told me that 80 or 85% of women who make it to top management leave.
Yes.
and that was a statistic that blew my mind. It's like, really? After all we have to go through to get up there?
And then they leave.
What happened? Yeah.
There's been a lot of research in that topic, why they actually leave at that point just before they really peak. I mean, it's a good career, there's no doubt about that, but why don't they stay until the final CEO positions or the very, very top leadership positions? And there's no doubt that women are exhausted when they reach that level. When you ask them, just when they resign, they say that, no, I want to pursue another career, I want to start my own company. But then after a year, you ask them again and they say, no, I was exhausted, I didn't feel at home, it was I didn't have any role models. So a lot of times they actually, it's not because they maybe consciously want to leave, but unconsciously they just think, no, this is not worth it, I want a different life.
That and it's a whole different game, because I know I sort of did that, and that's why I was so amazed. I was surprised. It was like, what am I surprised for? I did the same thing. It's like, but it was like, I learned how to play the boys' game, but I didn't like it. It was like, I don't like who I'm becoming now. So it's a whole different world up there at the top, I would think.
It is a different world, and that's why we need to have much more women in leadership positions, so it's a fair game also for women. And research have also shown that you actually need 3 around in a boardroom. You need 3 of the same. If you look at diversity, if you have 3 women, or it's the critical mass is 3. So if you have 3 women in the boardroom, actually nobody thinks about if you're a woman or man. But if you have 1 or maybe 2,
you're the oddity.
Yes.
Interesting. I guess that would go with ethnicity and
exactly. It will all with diversity in general. Yeah.
Oh boy, okay, so much to think about. And it's so funny, when you came here, and I can't remember when, but I'm sure it was at least 4 years ago. And it was like, this is a cool program, why not, sure. And now I think it's become an essential program. We are learning that, all the experiences that we as women had aren't that unique. Everybody's having them.
Yes.
And it's become, especially in America, it's become prevalent and made aware of. So all of a sudden, so it's like you were ahead of the time, huh?
A little bit ahead of the time. I think that it's also my own journey. So I have tried to negotiate and feel so afraid when I negotiated that I wanted to negotiate and negotiated hard and I reached my goals, but afterwards I felt so uncomfortable. And I thought, oh my God, is he going to fire me afterwards? Because it was a very uncomfortable negotiation. And what I found out was after that very hard negotiation, I had even more respect. And that was the first time it really dawned on me that this is a game. This is something that I was not aware of. Nobody had taught me that I had to negotiate that way to get what I wanted. And then when I started my own company and I was coaching men and women, I could see that for a lot of women it was kind of the same topics. It was about having, you know, a say at the table, feeling comfortable negotiating, making the right alliances, not ask for permission. All these, it was kind of the same, and I didn't want to teach the women to copy the men, because if we wanted to copy the men, we could, of course, do that.
Right.
But I think it's very much about being authentic and have that power within. So when you go and you say something and you present something, if you negotiate, then it actually comes from you, and that's what I would like to teach women, that why is it it's difficult for them, and then how to do it. So when they do it, they are already aware, and the awareness is extremely important if you have to be empowered. You need that awareness. Why is it difficult for me now? And then what then do I have to do? So that's the journey I take them through.
How much of Show Your Worth is building self-esteem?
It's a lot.
Yes, I would think
a lot. But the thing is, if I said to you, oh, you just need more self-esteem, you would be like, what should I do?
You're right.
So I do it a little bit different. So we talk about, you know, the inner barriers, the barriers from society, what you've heard when you're growing up, or maybe even in school, a teacher didn't believe in you. There can be a lot of things going on. What are you telling yourself? Then we work with that. And then when you start getting aware of what, you know, all these habits that we don't even think about, and maybe it's not right, then I can start teaching you the tools. And then when you use the tools, you might know, oh, this is a little bit uncomfortable, but you know that you should not do it once or twice. You should actually keep going. And then it becomes a habit for you, and suddenly it's not that uncomfortable, because you really feel that this comes from you. Something you've always wanted to do or say, now you're doing it.
Why do you think that it is so difficult for women versus men? I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think men go through that. I don't think men need self-esteem boosting that as much as women do.
Not as much, because I do meet actually men that does need Show Your Worth.
So men are human. Wait a minute. Okay.
But I think it's because we have been taught from a very early age. We've been encouraged to be quiet, to help, and research also shows that from toddlers, we give boys the interesting toys. We encourage them to solve problems, where small baby toddlers, girl toddlers, get all the soft toys. They get the teddy bear and they get a doll. And then when they are 4 or 5 years old, then if a boy is running around screaming, or something, we don't tell them to be quiet as quickly as we do with small girls. So very quickly we teach, at a very early age, we teach girls to be more quiet, submissive, and helpful, where for boys it's absolutely not the same. So there's something in the way, and it's not something we do because we are not good people. It's just something we subconsciously do.
No, I think we hand it down, and we're taught what we, you know, of course you're taught. I mean, certainly when I was young, it was like, okay, you're going to be groomed to be a wife and be a mother, and you know, and then it started kind of opening up, and it's like, okay, well, I don't have to do that. I can do something else. I can do something else here. But so slowly, like you say, it's you know, expanding. So what is the mission of Show Your Worth? And do you see differences? I know you're on a global basis now, which is so fantastic. But do you see differences in cultures? Do you take that into consideration? I know there are differences in cultures, of course, but do you take that into consideration?
Absolutely. I think for, if you go from I'm from Denmark, Copenhagen, and if you take the Scandinavian culture, it's more, I have to be a little more careful. It sounds strange because salary, we hardly have any inequality in salary, for instance. We have good maternity leaves, but still women don't advance, and we're actually not very high on the scale when you look at the percentage of women in leadership positions. But I have to deal with that in a different way, because it's not something anyone really wants to talk about. Where I find in America, it's actually easier for me to talk about it, because you have women's organizations, and its diversity is a completely different ball game here. When in Scandinavia, it's a very homogeneous society, so you shouldn't really talk about those differences. So I actually have to sneak it in a different way than I do here in
America.
America. Yes.
More careful.
And then, of course, if you go to India or the Saudi Arabian country, all these things, then you of course have to do it in a completely different way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even there, I went to Saudi Arabia. They're finally allowing their women to drive.
You see all these small things progress. It's fantastic.
Small things.
Yeah.
Well, right now we're in a revolution of kind where women are suddenly coming forward and talking about like difficulties that they've had in the workplace based on their sex, you know, because they are women. Is that going to be helpful, do you think, in the future? Is it going to be like, oh, okay, enough, I've heard already, you know?
I think it's going to be helpful. I really hope that we actually now talk about it will change the culture in the companies, so we don't objectify women the way we have objectified them for many centuries, that we actually see them as, you know, a colleague and someone who can contribute, and that's it. And of course, we will always be men and women and women. It's not that. It doesn't have to be
you don't
like
have to
clinical.
de-sex.
No, it doesn't have to be like clinical. But I think that when you are in a professional environment, behave professionally. And then if you are in a private environment, that's, you know, for you to decide. It has nothing to do with your work. But in a professional environment, behave professional. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. It's a human being, and they have some skills, and that is what we're here for.
Yeah, and being, well, I know because in America we still have the wage gap, and it's I can't believe we still have a wage gap, but we do.
Yeah.
And so of course maybe that's what makes American women more vocal, because we want that money, you know. Come on, and this isn't fair.
Very fair that we should actually still work for that, because it's a lot of there's a lot of discrepancies in society and in the workplace. Why doesn't women get paid the same as men still?
Absolutely. And I'm feeling that this is probably the worst time for women and the best time for women. I mean, I think the pendulum has gone so far crazy that we're going to go back to you know, sane, and somewhere in the middle we'll make it. So, but it's like, it's so good that you're out there. And I know this is Show Your Worth is a part of global consulting. What else do you do for companies?
Yes, leadership development and executive coaching. It can be all kinds of topics they come with. Then I have a concept called global performance, how to make expat perform on a global scale, because it costs a ton of money to send people out in the world to work, and hardly anyone gives them coaching along the way how to perform.
Isn't that amazing that we'll take somebody who's very proficient in their country and throw them in another country and go, okay.
So that is a concept. Then I have
good luck.
called the high performance board, how to make a board work as a team.
Oh my
You could
gosh.
both be a for-profit and a non-for-profit board.
I have been on so many boards where that could be used.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and then the latest thing I'm doing with Laura Thompson is coaching for global change, where we take the leadership team from a company and the NGOs, and we actually work together. So the leaders in one company, if they have interest in a third world country, then they can actually go out there and empower the leaders in that third world country, and we are the facilitators for that whole program.
So you are training the leaders in one company to go out and train the leaders in another country.
Yes.
Why didn't somebody else think of that? You're always ahead of your time. I love that.
And we're very excited, because that will give us the opportunity to travel ourselves.
Exactly.
So, and we will learn so much from it as well. And I think it's, it was an idea we got because we talked about maybe we should do a non-profit, and then we decided, no, we want to earn money, so we're not going to do a non-profit. And then we talked to some people in actually both in the non-profit world and also in the business world, and said, no, we actually need you to do this business model, because otherwise it won't have the impact that you were looking for. So,
and this is open for any country that expresses desire.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're launching it next year, beginning January, February. It's going to be.
I know next year is almost here, which I find amazing, which is so good. So with all that in mind, tell us, what do you do? One-on-one coaching? Do you do group coaching? What do you do?
I do one-on-one coaching. I really like that. I think that has a huge impact.
I like to keep my finger in that pot.
And then workshops, which is equally fun and exciting. Then I have an online concept with Show Your Worth. So where women can take the program in the comfort of their own home.
That's a new launch too, right?
Yes, that's a new launch.
That's so exciting. Has that started yet?
Yes, it just launched it. When did I launch it? 2 months? Yeah. Go.
Hello, it's almost December. Yes. I know.
So so that's really exciting. And
is
then, of
that
course,
ongoing, or is it limited time? Or tell
it's
us
ongoing.
It's
ongoing, yeah.
Okay, so
And
anybody can join at any time?
Anyone can join in any time, yeah.
Oh,
and
nice.
you buy it for life, so you buy all the modules, and then you can take it whenever you want to.
You buy it for life?
Yes, and
wow.
you can come back and revisit if there's something you think you should have done differently.
And what kind of courses are you doing? I mean, is it an ongoing course, or is it each new subject each time you do it?
It's 12 modules. So we start with the awareness and the inner barriers and the outer barriers. Then we move over to how to to speak really powerfully. So instead of saying, oh, I have an idea, maybe we could do, you can say, I know this is going to work, this is what we should do.
I had the best idea in the world.
Yes. So you learn to speak really powerfully, and then they learn to negotiate. And if you get a counter argument, because when you've really there, you want to negotiate, and then someone says, yeah, but it's really difficult for us, we have a bad year.
Exactly.
And then what do you say? And then I'm teaching.
Like, oh, never mind.
Yeah. And then I teach them what to say and the formula for that.
Oh, so needed.
Yes.
Wow.
So that, because sometimes it has nothing to do with you. It's it's an argument, but of course you should deserve your salary.
Yeah.
So and then in the course also how to build relationships. So you have some people to help you, the right people to help you in your career.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just.
And it is a win-win to have relationship, because even if you want to help others, they need to know who you are and need to know what you can help them with.
Well, I was going to ask you, it's like, at what level would you recommend people do this or enter this? It's like, is it for the fledgling person who's just starting? Is it for the top CEO?
Yeah. No, I would say its age group is probably 25 to 45 when you're like entering, but I think it's good to have maybe just a half a year under your belt, because then you know what is needed.
You've been knocked around a little, but
you're
not totally defeated.
Exactly. And then you can take it up through the career. But when you
Yeah.
reach a certain levels, you will have learned how to do certain things, right?
Hopefully.
So,
Or unfortunately, you may be so entrenched, it's like, okay, I know how to do this, look where I am, But I think there's always room for improvement.
Yes.
And like you say, if you go in and you go, oh my gosh, I've got to negotiate and I don't want to do this, how could you make people feel comfortable doing that? And how can you, and how can they prepare for, I love it. And so the modules are online. It's 12 and anybody can join at any time. Yeah. And they're going to find that on your website at the bottom?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. They're going to find Show Your Worth at the bottom. Okay. And the website.
Yes.
All right. So what are your challenges for this coming year besides launching?
Besides launching, yes.
I think big enough problem.
I think when we talk about Show Your Worth, one of the challenges is, of course, to get men to buy it. To buy it for the company, for the female employees, because a lot of time we see they form these women's organizations, but they don't allocate the funds to those women's organizations. And that I find is interesting, that they say, of course, you should form the organization, but allocate the fund. And I think women should, of course, be much better. Say, yes, of course, you want to organize us, but we also want some funds. And I've actually had quite big companies asking me if I wanted to do this for free, which surprised me a little.
No, I do
because
not.
Of course they have the money to do it, but it's kind of like it's a little. They don't take it that seriously. Okay, if you think you want it, yeah, you can do it, but we're not going to.
We will let you come in, but pay you for it?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
No.
So I think that is a challenge, and I think we just should keep pushing on, and that's one of the challenges. And I think one of my goals for 2018 is really that we see that get even more globally out, because it's really needed on a global scale.
Yeah. Definitely. So how do you sell it to? Right now, well, I can't say that. I can't speak globally. But how do you sell it in a culture where men rule? I mean, why would they see the worth?
They rule everywhere, right?
Yes,
so it's
that's true. More so than others.
So a lot of times it's, of course, come through women who have either been at a workshop or I've coached them or talked with them, and then they go back to the company and recommend the program. And then I sell it in from there. I think it's important to stress that empowering women is like teaching any other skill. If you want to do a presentation, you learn presentation skills. If you want to go and work in Germany, you might learn some German language. And here, if you want to advance your career, you have to learn how to advance your career. There's nothing special about it. It's just like learning any other skill you need in your career.
It's interesting. You know what popped in my head, because I used to work long ago for a community action program that had Head Start in it. And the whole concept was, okay, there are some people who don't get experiences or don't get the training that they need, so let's give them that, and then everybody starts on a level playing field. But you know what? Let's try to sell this thing right now. It's like, okay, what's the benefit of empowering women?
The benefit is definitely that the company utilize all the skills and the knowledge they already pay for.
Exactly.
So
Why are you paying for half of my brain?
Exactly. So
I love that.
If they don't know what that person actually is capable of, because that person doesn't speak that much at meetings or doesn't come forth with the ideas, or maybe she does, but nobody's listening, then the company loses out. So there's so much money in actually utilizing the skills and the knowledge they already have in the companies.
I like that concept.
So,
it's like, okay, why not use the entire person? Why not use everything that they have? Another thought that came to me is, whatever your company is, I'm going to bet that half your clients are female.
Yes.
And so females can speak to other females as well as men, but you might need to have that feminine idea there.
Absolutely.
You know?
And that's also part of innovation, the whole innovation culture, to have diversity, and so everybody is represented when you develop your products and your services. And then we also know that diverse teams perform better. So that's another benefit. Yeah. There's nothing but benefits.
I can't see, I can't, unless you're going to say money. But I mean, like you said, the money is, you're already paying it.
They're
so why
already
not,
paying it, yes.
Why not get everything? So really, it's not even money. So,
no. And also just retaining skilled and good employees is you save so much money from retaining.
Well, I've seen, in the past, since 2008 actually, and when everything collapsed, I've seen that employers seem to realize that to keep training new people and to keep, that's so expensive. It's much easier to retain them.
Absolutely.
And more beneficial to the companies. So it's like, the same with females. If 85% of your females are going to, when you finally get them to the top, they're going to go, never mind.
Yeah,
this is not what I thought of. What a waste of resources.
It is a really waste,
Wow.
And then it's, of course, also about happiness. I mean, we know that employees perform better when they're happy. And have good and skilled leaders. So if you actually do work with your female employees so they are happy, they will also perform even better.
Exactly. And why would you want, as a top CEO person, why would you want to create an atmosphere where everybody fears you and holds back on what they want to tell you? So I can think of a few that are running in the United States right now, and I don't get it. But okay, we won't get into that.
No.
So what are the biggest challenges you feel that are on the table for 2018?
With regards to selling Show Your Worth?
Well, and the whole thing, global consulting, the whole thing.
I think actually that we still see that companies don't allocate enough money to leadership development. I was thinking about it the other day. I was in a restaurant and we were sitting there, and you looked at the management of the restaurant, and I think it's really difficult to get skilled leaders and managers. And what we forget is that we need to train them. It's not something that we teach our kids in school and when they're young. So you really need to invest in training your leaders and managers. And I think that is still a challenge. That if things are not really, if you're not in a high income curve, we cut that in the budget. And then if you don't have good leaders and managers, you won't have employees that perform well. So it's all a circle. I think that's still a challenge for the world.
It's funny because I find if I do like executive coaching, and a company has hired me, or I go through another person and they've hired that person, and it's like, how much money are you spending on this one person when you could have just gotten the team together? And and it's I think in the long run it's going to be what is that, penny wise and pound stupid? I don't know what that, I forget what the thing is, but you know what I mean. It's like you're going to save money in the short term, but you're really going to end up paying for it in the long term.
And often you probably also experience the same. We come in very late.
Yes.
Why not up front train them? Because everybody knows it's needed. It's not something we're born with. We're not all born with perfect leadership skills. Nobody is. So I think it's really important to actually have that in your budget.
I agree. I mean, and I don't want to talk us out of a job, but there are some companies that have had internal coaching programs, and I'm thinking of NASA because I did a workshop for them, and they've had their internal program for 10 years, 10 to 20 years, and it's because they realize that just because you're promoting somebody who's talented, and of course at NASA you're very linear and scientific, they don't know how to be a manager. So
of course not. Of course not.
And
None
why
of
would
us
you expect them to? Nobody was. You're right. Nobody was born a manager.
No.
So
it can all be learned. And,
so do you work with companies to develop that management team, or?
Yes, I do that also. If you can assess the management team, you can find out what is needed individually, but also on a team basis. So both things can be done. So we can do some team training and then some individual coaching and training, depending.
Okay. Yeah. It would seem like a logical step. Okay, let's train the team first, and then if there's someone who needs special training. Let's move on in.
Yes.
So review again. What you've got? Your regular Beck Global Consult. Regular, like everybody has that. Yeah, she has a regular, and that's regular for her. Then you've got Show Your Worth. Then you've got
High Performance Board.
A High Performance Board, which is anybody who's ever served on a board. Oh my goodness, where were you, oh, Lord? Talk about dysfunction. And then the new launch coming up.
Coaching for Global Change.
Okay. Yeah. And so anybody can find that on your website at the bottom. And everything is in full, and the online, what is that called?
It's called, I call the program Patient is Not a Strategy, because you can't wait, you simply can't wait for others to find out what you can do or give you the salary you really deserve, so you have to speak up for yourself. So that's why I call it Patience is Not a Strategy. And the fun part was I've actually heard several men say to me, actually patience is really a good leadership skill. And I'm kind of stop laughing. Of course, I know it's a good leadership skill to be patient, but it's not a good skill if you really want to move ahead in your career. You need to push it forward yourself.
And unfortunately, I think women have to do that little extra push anyway. So
we've
been patient. We know how to do that. We want to do the other thing now.
Yeah, exactly. We know how to be patient.
We can do that. We could teach you guys that, but we want to learn.
And also, I like a little, I think we don't. It doesn't have to be so boring. So that's also why I thought it's a fun title.
that is so fun. So we've got online, we've got in-house, we've got the team, we've got individual. Oh my goodness, you're just. And I can't think of a place where this isn't needed. I mean, you just and so the launch is coming next year for the Train the Trainer, for lack of a better word. So I would just tell you, we have like no time at all. Okay. I would just say check on the bottom, because this is obviously a lady who doesn't sit still too long and she keeps creating, and see what you can find out there that might be of benefit to you personally or your company. And I want to thank you, Lena, for sharing your New York City vacation with me.
Yes,
and the
thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.